Hello, learners and dear friends. Today, let me discuss one of the important and very essential concept for becoming teachers or budding teachers, that is none other than the micro teaching. Micro teaching. Before going to understand the concept of micro teaching, how learning take place. For answering this question, learning is the interaction and process between with the teachers, with the students, with the content, and with the environment. This is the process between all these subdomains. There are some famous sayings. One is, I hear, I forget. I see, I remember. I do, I understand. Researchers reveal that we remember only 20% of what we hear. We remember only 30% of what we see. We remember only 50% of what we see and hear, and we remember about 90% of what we see, hear, and do, friends. About teaching, Burton has given a definition for teaching, that is, teaching is the process of stimulation, guidance, direction, and encouragement of learning. And it is a process of stimulating the students, giving guidance to the learner, showing a kind of direction to the pupil, and encouragement of learning, which is very, very essential for the learning process. Micro teaching is one of the most significant approach to make a real teacher really a real teacher. If you want to make a real teacher for the classroom, the micro teaching will help and will train to the teacher really a real teacher. Teacher education has two major components. They are, one is theory of education, theory of papers, and practice of education. The teacher education has given more emphasis, more importance for practice of education. Teaching practices, technically known as student teaching. Student teaching has two main approaches. One is global, as we know, the traditional, and the analytical are popularly known as micro teaching. A concept of micro teaching at Stanford University. In 1963, the term micro teaching was coined by D.W. Allen. Micro teaching in India, the micro teaching term used by D.D. Tiwari in 1967 in India. Micro teaching. Micro teaching is an important innovation which is being successfully used. This is a kind of innovation, unique approach which is being successfully used for developing desirable teaching skills, expected teaching skills, and competencies in student teachers or teacher trainees or becoming teachers. Aim at modifying students' teachers' behavior. Micro teaching aim is that to modifying students' behavior, inculcating the different skills, different competencies according to the specified objectives, according to the specific teaching objectives of teacher education objectives. D.W. Align defined the micro-teaching. Micro-teaching is a scaled-down teaching encounter in class size and class time. It is a scaled-down teaching encounter in class size and class time. Usually, in general classroom, we have 80 to 100 students, whereas we have only 7 to 8 members in the micro-teaching class. And the time, usually we will give 45 to 1 hour for a period, and here we will give only 6 minutes for the micro-teaching class. Patient Lalita has given a definition for micro-teaching. Teaching is a single concept. Teaching a single concept using specified teaching skills. Here, teacher trainee will teach only a single concept using specified teaching skills. For example, introducing the lesson, asking questions, probing questions, using my blackboard, stimulus variation questions like that to small number of students in a short duration of time. When talking about the main features of micro-teaching given by Allen and Ryan, it is a real-time teaching, reduce complexities of actual classroom. Actual classrooms have some of the complexities. That may be a stage courage, that may be a confidence, that may be other barriers of the real classroom that will reduce in the micro lesson or the micro teaching. Training for accomplishment. We will give a kind of accomplishment in form of giving training. Individualized training to the every students. Every students will practice in the micro teaching process, and he will give feedback from the supervisor and peers and other kind of devices, and through that individualized training will take place. Immediate feedback from the supervisor, from the peers, and from the other devices, and from himself. And teacher or teacher trainees will get immediate feedback and control over class or practices. He will control his class and practices. Phases of micro teaching suggested by Clift. According to Clift, there are 3 phases. One is acknowledge or the knowledge acquisition phase. Knowledge acquisition phase is a pre-active phase. Here, teacher trainee observe demonstration skills. He will observe the lessons, micro lessons from the expert, from the teacher educators, from the senior students. Analyze and discuss demonstration. There, with the guidance and under the guidance of the supervisor, the discussion will be going on about the merits and demerits and about the skill and the components of that particular micro teaching, friends. Second one is skill acquisition phase. Skill acquisition phase is the interactive phase. Here, teacher trainee prepare micro lesson, practice skills, and evaluate performance by getting feedback from the supervisor and the peers. And teacher trainee will go for reteach. And third phase is the transfer phase. Transfer phase is a post-active phase. Here, learner or teacher trainee will transfer of skill to actual teaching situations. Whatever knowledge, whatever skill he will have in the practice of micro teaching, and the same skill will transfer to actual teaching situations or actual classroom situations.